ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Pimanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 17, Canto 10, Chapter 2. Sabhibrat Paurusham Dhamma Brajamano Yata Ravi Darasado Tidur Dharsho Bhutanam Sambhabhovaha Sabhibrat Paurusham Dhamma Brajamano Yata Ravi Darasado Tidur Dharsho Bhutanam Sambhabhovaha Sabhibrat Parusham Dhamma Brajamano Yata Ravi Darasado Tidur Dharsho Bhutanam Sambhabhovaha Sabhibrat Paurusham Dhamma Brajamano Yata Ravi Durdarsho Sabhibrat Paurusham Dhamma Brajamano Yata Ravi Durasado Tidur Dharsho Bhutanam Sambhabhovaha Sabhibrat Paurusham Dhamma Vrajamano Yata Ravi Durasado Tidur Dharsho Bhutanam Sambhabhovaha Saha He Vasudev Bibrat carried Paurusham pertaining to the Supreme Person Dhamma the spiritual effulgence Brajamanaha illuminating Yata as Ravihi the sunshine Durasadaha very difficult even to look at, difficult to understand by sensory perception. Ati dur darshaha approachable with great difficulty. Bhutanam of all living entities. Sambhabhova so he became. Ha positively. Translation, while carrying the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart, Vasudev bore the Lord's transcendentally illuminating effulgence, and thus he became as bright as the sun. He was therefore very difficult to see or approach through sensory perception. Indeed, he was unapproachable and unperceivable, even for such formidable men as Kamsa. And not only for Kamsa, but for all living entities. Purport. The word Dhamma is significant. Dhamma refers to the place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam 111, it is said, Dham nasvena sadana rastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. In the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no influence of material energy. Parentheses, Dhamna svena sada narastakuhakam. Any place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present by His name, form, qualities, or paraphernalia immediately becomes a Dhamma. For example, when we speak of Vrindavana Dhamma, Dwaraka Dhamma, Mathura Dhamma, because in these places, the name, fame, qualities, and paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are always present. Similarly, if one is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do something, the core of his heart becomes a Dhamma, and thus he becomes so extraordinarily powerful that not only his enemies, but also people in general, are astonished to observe his activities. Because he is unapproachable, his enemies are simply struck with wonder, as explained here by the word Darasado Ti Durdarshaha. Paragraph. The words Paurusham Dhamma have been explained by various acharyas. Sri Viradaghava Acharya says that these words refer to the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vijayadvaj says that they signify Vishnu Tejas. And Shukadev says Bhagavat Swarupa. The Vaishnava Toshani says that these words indicate the influence of the Supreme Lord's effulgence. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that they signify the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So yesterday we heard how Krishna appeared in the mind of Vasudeva. We heard that he was already there, he's already everywhere, but he appeared within his mind. And he saw the form of the Supreme Lord within his mind. And one can only see, we know from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, one can only see that form through the medium of pure devotional service. Specifically, even it says where all one's activities are dedicated to the Supreme. We discussed this yesterday evening at a home program. Work for Krishna. That is, whatever you do. So it's that work for Krishna is a subset of bhakti. Whatever you do, it's for Krishna. Krishna is everything, or Krishna's pleasure is everything. That's pure devotional service. So through the medium of pure devotional service, Vasudeva, by Krishna's arrangement, could see him. It doesn't mean Vasudeva was not a pure devotee yet. Not so. But even in the position of pure devotion, the Lord may choose to appear, and he may not, and that's in his hand. It's his volition, his supreme will. But it was for the purpose of his Leela, he appeared in the mind of Vasudeva. Now this verse is saying, as a result of his appearing in the mind of Vasudeva, what happened? Vasudeva became effulgent like the sun. That's the second line. Brajamano yata ravihi. Ravi means sun or sunshine. So he became Brajamana. He became illuminated Vasudeva became illuminated like the sun, yata ravi. So his effulgence was lighting up that prison cell, like as if, yata, the sun was shining. And then, so the first line, sa bibrat parusham dhamma. Sa bibrat, he carried, sa bibrat, parusham dhamma. So first Prabhupada focuses on the word dhamma. And the Hare Krishna movement, we're accustomed to know what the word dhamma means. It's the holy place. The dham. There's namaparad and there's dhammaparad and sevaparad. Dham is offenses to the holy place. So that's what we're accustomed to, the holy place. And it's a holy place. The holy place is a holy place, Prabhupada explained to the purport, because eternally, even before cosmic manifestation, the holy place is eternally existing. After cosmic annihilation, the holy place is eternally existing, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. And during the cosmic manifestation, the holy place is eternally existing. And the pastimes of the Supreme Lord may be manifest or not manifest, but they're there. The pastimes of the Supreme Lord are eternally being eternally present. Thus, Dhamma. And then Prabhupada, very importantly, expands this, not just the place Vrindavan Dham and Dwarka Dham and Mathura Dham, but he expands it, saying, for that matter, any place where the personality of Godhead is present, such as His name, by His name. So it's very important. That's our access to Dhamma, to the holy place, is Nama. Chant the name, and Krishna is present. And where Krishna is present, the place where Krishna is present is Dhamma, becomes purified, sanctified. As we're hearing from the 1.1.1, the last line of the verse, Dhamna Svena Sadhana Rasta Kuhakam. It's there twice in the purport. So Prabhupada's explaining where there is no influence of the material energy, parentheses, Dhamna Svena Sadhana Rasta Kuhakam. So the name is never contaminated. Purna Shuddho, Nitya Mukto. The name is never contaminated. The name may come to a contaminated place, like the sun may come to a dirty place. The sun doesn't become contaminated. The name doesn't become contaminated. The name, like the sun purifies a dirty place, the name purifies a dirty place, where material existence is eliminated in the presence of the name. So there's a Sanskrit term for that, where material existence is eliminated. It's called nirvana. So we don't, beyond I've been discussing this at Emory University. Emory University is in Atlanta. It's a place where Balavanta was a student when the devotees went there. Janamejaya and Taradasi and others went there to start the Atlanta temple, and they didn't have a place to stay, so they stayed in the dorm room of William Ogle, who later became Balavanta, who became the president, became the GBC, and so forth. He went to school at Emory. So we had a program at Emory, and the topic I was asked to speak about was Beyond Nirvana, subtopic, the path of yoga. So, beyond nirvana means where there's no influence of the material energy, or the cessation of material existence. And the yoga process is to connect with Krishna And the bhakti yoga process connects us with Krishna, starting with his name. And so one who the opportunity is provided, purification is available, by chanting of the holy name to go beyond material existence. Enter that realm where there's no material existence, and then you engage in devotional service. That's bhakti yoga. The path of yoga takes one beyond nirvana, if done properly, with proper guidance. And so, back to the word Dhamma. That's the first paragraph. Dhamma means the abode of the Lord, and where the abode of the Lord is beyond material existence. And so the mind of Vasudeva was beyond material existence. And because the Supreme Lord was present, there was this effulgence, the Jyoti, Brahma Jyoti, spiritual light, no material light. Material light is a reflection of Brahma Jyoti. We had this nice discussion for about 3 weeks. From somebody in San Diego asked Badrinarayan Swami this verse from chapter 10 Bhagavad Gita that says, the stars in the sky are reflections of the light of the sun. You know that one? And does it mean literally reflection? Like, there's only one sun in the universe. And all others are like a reflection, like a mirror reflects an object. There's only one sun. Because apparently that's what Bhagavad Gita is saying, and apparently that directly contradicts modern science. Yes? So wait a minute. Where does our faith go in modern science or in Bhagavad Gita? Krishna. Who is our authority that we accept? Do we accept Krishna? Do we accept modern scientists? Because after all, how could they be wrong? They are right in so many things. So it was this lively discussion, and one of the devotees that helped was the devotee that's in charge of the temple of Vedic planetarium, Antariksha, I believe is his name. Antariksha, whatever his name is. I don't think that's it. Anyway, he chimed in. He was consulted and said a few things. First, we'll get back to the purport, but there's one idea of reflection, and that is like a mirror. There's the object, and there's reflection in the mirror of the object. That's one idea or one understanding of what reflection means. There's another, and the other is a Sanskrit meaning that it's something like, he used the English word channeling, or a medium. So the statement is there in the Vedas that the light of the Brahma Jyoti is found or reposed in the sun. The light of the Brahma Jyoti is a reflection of the light of the Brahma Jyoti, but so not in the sense like a mirror and the object reflected in the mirror, but in this transparent descending manner. And similarly, the light of the sun is the light of other luminous objects, like the light of fire, the light of the moon, the light of the Suryakanta gem, right? It's in Brahma Samhita. Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta speaks of the Suryakanta gem. What's a Suryakanta gem? It's a gem that's not just like a crystal, like here's a chandelier. And when you turn the lights on the chandelier, the light shines through the crystal, and it deflects light here and there, and it's nice, very attractive. The light is coming from the bulb. So that's one kind of reflection. But there's another where the Suryakanta gem actually doesn't require the lights on. It is self-luminous. You put it in a dark room and it's self-luminous. But the light in the Suryakanta gem is drawn from the sun. It's a little bit of the light of the sun, as the sun is a little bit of the light of the Brahmajyoti. And similarly, as with the Suryakanta gem, this devotee, the TOVP in charge person, said, similarly, the other luminaries in the sky, nakshatras is the technical term. It can mean different things in Sanskrit, according to dictionary. But it's the reflection of the light of the sun in the sense that they derive their luminosity from the sun, as the sun derives its luminosity from the Brahmajyoti. And it's the sun, the sun that we know in our solar system, according to his explanation, there's one sun in the whole universe, and other luminous bodies are bearing the light of the sun by this system of reflection. Not the former, but the second model of reflection or meaning of reflection. Interesting, huh? Now, there may be other explanations than that one, but that's one of those explanations that explains there's one sun within the universe. So there. Sun in the sense that it's the one body within the whole universe that directly empowered, channeling the light of the Brahmajyoti, spreading that light of the Brahmajyoti throughout the universe, and thus other luminous objects are also luminous in different ways. And even, fire. So, back to the purport of the verse here. Dhamma means the presence of the personality Godhead where there's no material influence, and if by our taking shelter of Nama, we're brought to that region, potentially at least, we're brought to the region of beyond nirvana, or beyond material existence, without any qualification. Like Hemangi was saying yesterday, how merciful is this process? You don't have to be anything. With faith, that's the only have to. There's some faith in the name, and call the name with faith. And that can transport you to the place where Krishna is. In fact, you are transported immediately. Consciousness is very covered, very dull, so generally it takes some time for the full purification, the full effect to be subjectively experienced. But in Vasudev's case, he was already there, and so when Krishna chose to make himself present in his mind in a visible feature, he became as effulgent as the sun, Ravi, which is a reflection of the light of the Brahmajyoti. And so the Brahmajyoti was what was being shown in that prison house because the presence of Krishna. And then there's this other detail in the first paragraph of the purport that no one could approach him, they couldn't see him with material sense perception, he couldn't be violated by Kamsa or anyone else. He was protected by Krishna's presence within his mind. Then the second paragraph is this Purusham Dhamma. Purusham, Purusha means person. In the higher sense of the term, it's the Supreme Person. The Supreme Person's Dham. So then we have these different renderings that somebody may get confused. This one says this, and that one says that, the other one says the other thing. Can't they just have a huddle and get together and agree, and it's one thing. That would be nice. Then we wouldn't be confused. But they're all right. And not one of them is more right than the other one. They're all right. There's just different angles of vision on the same subject matter. So I'll read it again, this short paragraph. The words Purusham Dhamma have been explained by various acharyas. Sri Viraraghava Acharya says that these words refer to the effulgence of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Vijayadwaja says that they signify Vishnu Tejas. And Shukadev says Bhagavat Swarup. The Vaishnava Toshani, that's Sanatana Goswami, says these words indicate the influence of the Supreme Lord's effulgence. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that they signify the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they're saying the same thing with different emphasis or different perspectives. It's something like there's a hub and there's spokes that all go to the hub, and someone can express what this spoke or that spoke or the other spoke, but the object is the same object. It's the hub. The object is Krishna. Krishna has appeared. And Krishna's appearance indicates, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it signifies the appearance. Purusham Dhamma. That's a direct meaning. And it's the effulgence of Krishna, because wherever there's Krishna, there's effulgence. And whenever there's Krishna and Krishna's effulgence, there is influence. One of the 6 opulences of Bhagavan is influence. Sometimes it's translated as fame. But influence, a famous person influences people. Fame, influence, and swarat, that comes from himself. It's not dependent upon circumstance. Like, by circumstance, for example, somebody becomes elected President of the United States. Our embarrassment president is elected. And because of that election, he has some influence. Fame or infamy, he has influence. And da-da-da-da-da-da. But, at some point he's gone. Sooner the better. And then the influence is reduced. He may still have some influence because he's a former president. But it's by circumstance and then taken away. Then who knows what he's going to be in his next life? Who knows? Gone. That influence is gone. Maybe something residual, but his influence is gone. So, but in Krishna's case, the 6 opulences in fullness, they're from himself, and one of those is this effulgence has an influence. That's what Sanatana Goswami is saying. The influence is being manifest in the body of Vasudeva by the presence of Krishna and Krishna's effulgence and the influence of Vasudeva. He's impenetrable. He's imperceivable by ordinary people. He can't be challenged or harmed because of the influence of the effulgence of the presence of the personality of Godhead. And so they're all right. It's just an innuendo or a different perspective on the same thing. Purusham Dhamma. And 2 remaining things I'd like to share. One has to do with interpreting a text. That's the topic. Probably you're all familiar with the passage in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Vallabha wants to impress Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about his scholarship, and he brags about, I have an interpretation of the holy name. Would you like to hear it? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no. I only know that Krishna means the son of Nanda Maharaj and Mother Jasoda, that's all. And it has to do with the interpretation of Krishna's name, has to do with Sanskrit rules. Sanskrit rules are very explicit about the direct meaning must be taken for anything, for a Sanskrit word, unless the exception is unless it's just inappropriate, or even more specifically, it doesn't conform with Siddhanta. Then you must take an indirect meaning. There's no option. You must take an indirect meaning. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying the direct meaning is a must. There's no need. I don't want to hear an indirect meaning. But to show scholarship, with the pride of scholarship, let me give an indirect meaning. I was attending one program in New Jersey. An elder Bengali family brought their elder Bengali friends. So I thought, let me just speak Bhagavad Gita because I don't know what they're going to understand otherwise. So I spoke Bhagavad Gita. And at the end, the first question, one elder scholar, could you give some interpretation of that verse? And I could understand where he's coming from. He's used to hearing, this means that, instead of this means this. The interpretation program, because strongly influenced by Ramakrishna Mission, everything gets interpreted. And then, a learned fellow is one who can do something clever with his interpretation, take an indirect meaning. So I tried to be nice, but I was a little aggravated that we don't take interpretation, we take as it is. When Krishna says that he means what he says, we don't take indirect meanings. We take the direct meaning. So that's what it is. There's the direct meaning. So Vallabha was doing that one. What's an interpretation? Now, so once again, in Sanskrit there's rules. Sanskrit terminology, there's rules that are very strict. And anybody that's an acharya must follow the rules. Now there's unscrupulous persons, Prabhupada uses that word, who don't follow the rules. They do that this means that all the time. They take an indirect meaning, and in that indirect methodology, they're taking the power of the authority of the Vedas to say whatever their philosophy is, their ideas are. That's the interpretation trick. It's not what the Vedas say, it's what their philosophy is, but they want the credibility and the authority of the Vedas to say, this is what it means. They're just cheating. Their ideology resting on the authority of the Vedas. It's cheating. It's very unfortunate, it's very bad. But Manda, that's this age of Kali, everything is bad. So we take direct meaning. Unless, according to Sanskrit rule, there's some reason to not. So in this final purport, these are all direct meanings. These are all direct meanings because their acharyas give. According to Amarakosha dictionary, the word Dhamma can mean this, that, and the other thing, and the other thing. So taking that, resting on the direct meaning, then the rule of using this word interpretation is, it must be according to Siddhanta, or Siddhanta must conform with direct meanings. Should I say it again? I'll say it again. We have our four sampradayas, and they're giving commentary on Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra. And there's a Siddhanta. So one of the Vedic rules is there is a Siddhanta. The Siddhanta must line up with direct meanings unless it's otherwise not possible. And then it must, and the commentary must be consistent with Siddhanta. So there's diversity amongst the Vaishnava commentators, the four. But there's something essential amongst them all, and that is monotheism. The absolute truth, because Vedanta Sutra is searching for the source of everything. The source of everything is Bhagavan, is the Supreme Person. So the conception of Bhagavan and how all the pieces fit together under that Bhagavan is Supreme has slight variations. And so Vedanta Sutra language is interpreted according to their Siddhanta, and then you can say what the Siddhanta is. Like for example, the Siddhanta of Madhvacharya, Dvaitavad, Dvaitavad, dualism, absolute dualism. And Sri Vaishnava or Ramanujacharya's teachings is Vishishta Advaita, etc. So there's a Siddhanta, and the commentators must comment according to the Siddhanta with direct meanings of the Sanskrit terms. So one more little message. There's an attempt over the past 5 years for our scholarly devotees to put in writing methodology by which one is to understand Prabhupada's books. Because Prabhupada's books are in English. And so the conformity with Sanskrit rules it's not a one-to-one how to interpret Prabhupada's books, it's in English. So they're writing a paper called the hermeneutics paper. Hermeneutics means, a dictionary definition is, the methodology by which a text is to be interpreted. Now, interpreting has a negative connotation, as I have already explained. We take direct meanings. But the word hermeneutics is commonly used with the Bible, and how you to understand this passage or that or the other from the Bible. So there's this hermeneutics treatise or guidelines how to read the Bible, how to interpret something from the Old and the New Testament. Because different denominations disagree. So there's a hermeneutics of how to align, the Methodists and the Mormons and the Catholics. They have their methodology, they have their interpretation, but it must follow standard methodology, hermeneutics. So some of our scholarly devotees is now in the 5th revision, have been working on a hermeneutics paper. This is just, ISKCON news. And the last version number 4, was only 136 pages. And it'll probably end up being more, and then kind of like a capsule version for devotees that just can get, hey, what's going on? Kind of like a little summary for public consumption, and how to, it doesn't like give an answer to what, when Prabhupada said this over here and that over there, here's the answer, how you're supposed to understand it. It is going to describe the methodology of how you take this over here and that over there and understand it. Methodology, not conclusions. Big distinction. They're not attempting to give like a definitive answer to tough questions. They're attempting to, one more time, to describe the methodology by which you can look at this over here and that over there. Guidelines, how to read Prabhupada's books for future generations. Because different persons like Hari Sori and people that had Prabhupada's association aren't around to say, you know, what was the circumstance, what was the context of this discussion where Prabhupada said this over here and that over there. He's not going to be around. So how do you take his writings and his morning walk conversations and room conversations and classes where he says seemingly some contradictory things? What's the methodology for coming to an understanding? You with me? So there's a hermeneutics paper in the making, version number 5. It'll probably take a while to get the final version. And how that relates to this, the second paragraph, there's some acharyas that say this and some acharyas that say that, and that's perfectly okay. Don't get confused, because in one sense, Prabhupada is, for us, Prabhupada is our founder acharya. When Prabhupada makes reference to Viraraghava acharya or this one or that one, we can have confidence that those persons are bona fide sources, at least on this particular context, in this particular topic. Member of ISKCON means Prabhupada is the Supreme Court. We invest that faith in him. That's what being part of ISKCON means. We accept him as our founder acharya, and he gives us guidance on authorities that give their explanation of things, or the interpretation of things, their explanation of all of what we're hearing here. Then hermeneutics is how to take what Prabhupada has given us and what are some of the rules or guidelines or procedures that you follow in order to have a proper understanding. So that's for refined, precise meanings of things. Now going back to something that Hemangi expressed yesterday, it was very nice, which was for people that don't have that propensity, they can go back to Godhead too. They just chant the holy name with faith. And that brings one into Dham. And everything is, Krishna's there. And through the name, we can approach the abode of Krishna. That's this explanation given by Vishwanath. That's the Shukadev. Bhagavat Swarupa. The form of the Supreme Lord was in the mind of Vasudeva. And we have access to that situation, the Vasudeva situation that's being referred to in this verse, through the chanting of the name. There must be faith, but the potency is there. Everything is there. Everything is there. And if one becomes pure, offenseless in chanting, all this will become revealed. And the books are there to help us, check our realizations against what our realized acharyas say about anything. The whole of the spiritual reality, even the spiritual reality within this realm. Everything is there. But we can just simply chant the holy name, and that's sufficient. It stands alone, doesn't need anything else to support it. The other things enrich our chanting of the holy name. It helps nourish faith in the holy name. It's the authority upon which everything rests, Scripture, and the rendering of the Scripture. And here's one last thing, actually. Last night, that fellow that came up afterwards, there's a Russian group program, home program, and one man said, I think I met you so many years ago, I came to the program and you gave me a Krishna book. I don't remember, but it was like 4.5 years ago, he said. Apparently we were like promoting Krishna book or something. And that was his first visit. Before his first visit, he had read the Srimad Bhagavatam without commentary multiple times. He already had attraction. And he had read the Upanishads, and he read Mahabharata, and read Ramayana, and read the Kabbalah, and read, this and that, because he has Jewish roots, and his thing is comparing how the two fit together, and there's lots of fitting together, and so on. But, Prabhupada said, we won't understand Bhagavad Gita, certainly not Srimad Bhagavatam either, without the Bhaktivedanta purports. We won't understand it. So some attraction, yes, but same with the name. We can chant the holy name, but we're unfortunate. We're manda. This Kali Yuga influence is very strong. Therefore, the Bhaktivedanta purports, Prabhupada's books, are so important for people that are even in the beginning stages of chanting. Of course, we encourage according to the person, but when applicable, we encourage them, in addition to chanting, study Prabhupada's books. Or just take a book. We go in book distribution, take a book that can then invite them into the chanting of the holy name. Many times it happens like that. People read, and then from the reading they hear about chanting and they start chanting. Sometimes even without devotee association, just read in Prabhupada's books about chanting and they start chanting. Because the books say it. There's lots of examples like that. So that the two go well together. The chanting of the holy name and the Srimad Bhagavatam Bhagavad Gita message. They nourish bhakti. Any discussion?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when the mention of the interpretation, and trying to understand Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur parallel of the demons of Vrindavan, he write the whole book on how the demons becomes, they represent anarthas, and it's very helpful. And so it's not necessarily taking a direct meaning, but using that direct meaning to run like a parallel that helps, understanding one's, process of purification or something like that. What makes that? Well, I guess the answer is obvious. He's an acharya, but there is some validity on doing some interpretation. Can we consider that an interpretation?
Two things. He has the qualification, and therefore we accept, because he has the qualification. And conversely, those that don't have the qualification, we don't accept. Second is, it's something like what's here. One can emphasize the presence of Krishna, Bhagavat Swarup. One can emphasize the effulgence of the presence of Krishna. One can emphasize the influence of the effulgence of the presence of Krishna. But it's the presence of Krishna. And just further elaboration, and further elaboration, and further elaboration. Similarly, the pastime is to be taken direct. It's not a story to teach us a lesson. That's the wrong kind of interpretation. Mythology that's to teach us, like, fable, a children's story to teach us a lesson of life. That's wrong. That's garbage. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is, by his qualification, is giving us some understanding of the influence of the effulgence of the presence of Krishna. And the influence is, he's clearing the way. Krishna is clearing the way. So he's clearing the way by performing the pastime and by hearing the pastime again and again and again. That obstacle in the path of bhakti is being cleared for us just by the hearing and the reciting of the pastime. Given that it's a fact, it's not myth, that Krishna performed it. The direct meaning is there, and the influence is also there. Yes?
Thank you, Maharaj, for the class. How effective is chanting if you're not reading the scriptures?
How effective is chanting if you're not what?
If you're not reading Prabhupada's purports.
How effective is the chanting if you're not reading Prabhupada's purports?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it depends. Depends on faith. Read in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the holy name is complete. It's not dependent upon anything else. As Krishna is independent, the name of Krishna is independent, and chanting the name stands on its own, doesn't need support of anything else. And then there's a long purport where Prabhupada quotes Bhaktisiddhanta saying so many things. Bhaktisiddhanta or Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, because they commented on Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, it certainly helps. And for us, it's more than helps. It's, we're not going to, if we have a misconception of the name, we have a misconception of Krishna, which is practically guaranteed, then one can go in the wrong direction. So we need a proper conception, and the proper conception comes from Scripture. The Scripture requires Prabhupada's purports. So one could head in the wrong direction or not get the full effect. That's the risk, particularly in this age of Kali. People are misguided. It's abundantly misguided. So, in principle, the name stands alone. In practical terms, we need the Bhaktivedanta purports side by side with chanting. So we can have the proper conception. In Harinam Chintamani, you familiar with that book? Written by Bhaktivinoda, it's Haridas Thakur speaking the glories of the name to Lord Chaitanya. That's the storyline. And Haridas Thakur, the chanter of the holy name, Acharya of the holy name, says there must be sambandha gyan together with the name, otherwise one will not get the full effect. Sambandha gyan means the relationship of all things with the source of all things. There must be proper sambandha gyan. So there has to be some The full effect of the chanting of the holy name will not be there without proper sambandha gyan. And that we get from Prabhupada's purports. How's that? Okay.
Maharaj, I have two things. So the first one is about chanting. So, like how do we understand that the holy name has everything? Like with a very deep
With
convention.
faith, you understand with faith. It's a fact. Krishna and his name are none different. Krishna is everything. The holy name is everything. It's a fact. How do you understand facts? By teachers. The authority of teachers. The teachers have the teachings from the scripture. That's how you can understand.
The second one is that when a devotee goes out and reaches to the people outside, Krishna is residing within the heart of a devotee.
It's challenging.
No, Krishna is residing within...
Krishna is residing in the heart, okay.
Yes. So, Krishna is influencing through the heart of a devotee, the new people.
Yes.
So, so Maharaj, the chanting of the holy name,
Yes.
that allows Krishna to come and reside within the heart of a
Yes.
devotee.
Well,
Is
he's
that
residing there. It enables one to recognize what we've forgotten. Krishna is residing in the heart. Cetadarpana marginum. The covering of forgetfulness is reduced and eventually eliminated by the chanting of the name. So when you're going out, having chanted carefully, then that remembrance of Krishna's in the heart, and Krishna's in the heart of the other person, and Krishna, please do your magic. Because your desire, I'm not rescuing the conditioned souls. Krishna is using me as an instrument. So please help this person get relieved of their suffering condition and come to know you again. Silently or softly, there's that prayer inside, and then you're saying so many things. But the intention is, be the instrument of Krishna in the heart for the Krishna in the heart of the other person. So Krishna appears through our Krishna consciousness, although he's already there. And the relationship with the name is, we're in service to the name when we're doing whatever we're doing. We're in service to Krishna. That's Krishna consciousness. It starts with the name. Okay. One more question? Do you want to go take the microphone instead of having her?
Yeah, Maharaj, you said wherever we chant the holy name becomes a place of worship.
When we're chanting the holy name, what happens?
Wherever we chant the holy name becomes a place of worship.
Well, Krishna is present. When we're chanting the holy name, Krishna is present. And the
Yeah.
place by Krishna's presence becomes sanctified.
So we should chant the holy name and anywhere?
Yeah.
No, wherever we
Why not?
Some places,
There's no niyamas, there's no restrictions or regulations. You can chant in the bathroom. You can chant on the street. You can chant in the bus. You can chant in your home. You can chant in the temple. You can chant anywhere.
What about like in a lounge or, where people drink and smoke?
Right, but that you may be respectful of the sensibilities of other people. The principle doesn't change. The place becomes sanctified by Krishna's presence in the form of his name. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.